Hello, welcome to paintinglessonsonline.com. Today I'm going to show you how to reproduce a Monet painting. This is a simple painting. All it has is a single subject boat with a beautiful color landscape in the background. To begin our Monet reproduction, first we need to draw in a horizon line. Monet's put it at about halfway through the canvas, just slightly above halfway. So we're going to do the same. Go, we have the horizon. And now we'll draw our boat. The boat is comprised of shapes that are just triangles, basically. Sharp pointed triangles. Slightly elongated. This first sail that's closest to us has got 4 points, slight curve, just like that. And if you see, it falls right on the horizon line. So the bottom half of it is below the horizon. Just like that. So we've got kind of a diamond triangle shape going on here. Our second sail, which is behind and above, it's a little bit higher, maybe even slightly taller than that, and then kind of comes down like that. So it's 2 diamond shapes so far. The bottom part of the boat, it's wider than the sails, more so on the right hand side. And you can just draw a straight line, like that, then the hull of the boat, and then a little swoop, and then it has got a point in the back. So it's a straight line where the boat is floating on the water, and then a curve, the top and the bottom. Let's see, we've got. Then there's just Then there's the rigging of the sails. A straight line there, straight line there, a diagonal. And that is enough to describe our boat. So now we can paint the background around the ship, and we'll let it dry and then paint the ship on top. The colors in this printout are not as bright and as vibrant as the originals, so I'm not going to copy this exactly. I'm going to make my colors a little bit brighter and more pastel. I'll start with the pink at the top. So I'll take a large portion of white and add a little bit of alizarin crimson to it. Just a very small amount. Monet painted in the most pastel colors sometimes, not always. Some of his paintings are quite vibrant, but my favorite pieces of his are where he uses color very subtly. So there we go. We've got a very soft pink going on. I'll just take a brush. Kind of a large brush, since we're covering a lot of area, and just push that paint right on there, nice and thick. And just kind of go back and forth to smooth it out. Now Monet also has pink down here, and a little bit in the water over here. So I'm just going to introduce some of that pink down here too. I'm not going to cover all of it because he's got other colors there too. But I am going to put it in the parts where there's a lot of pink here and here. And that's the reflection of the sky and the water. And then here, right on above the horizon line, he's got a darker pink. So we can take some red, some alizarin crimson, mix that together just to make a more vibrant color that isn't as pastel as the other pinks. And go ahead and put that right above the horizon line. And over here, the pink is not as prevalent. There's more pink on this side, so I'm just going to make that a thin line right there. There we go. There's a little bit of a wisp of a pink cloud right here. There we are. Okay, now I'm going to wash my brush or get a new brush and do the next color, which is this very light yellow. So again, take mostly white, just a small amount of yellow, and you see here the pink transitions into a pastel yellow, then turns more vibrant, just like this pink as well. And this here is a pretty soft yellow. So this one has the most white in it. So we'll start with that right here. Just blend that in right underneath the very light pink sky. Okay. And then I'm going to put some of this light pink also in the ocean. I'm just kind of putting it in large patches where I see that the color is dominant, not really getting the whole area. And I'm going in a horizontal brushstroke because of the ocean. That's the way that the water kind of comes across right on the horizon line. Get a little bit of that light yellow behind the sails. And up here by the pink. And even some below the pink here. All right. Now I'm going to get this more vibrant yellow, so I'm going to introduce more yellow into my white. Maybe even add a teeny bit of red just to warm it up a little bit. Just the smallest amount so that it's still mostly yellow, but it's got a warm feel to it. Put that in the sky. So I'm trying not to touch the other wet colors right now. I'm just laying the paint on the canvas to begin with, and then once I've got all the color down, then I'll do a little bit of blending and kind of softening those transitions between colors. And then there's some brighter yellow in the water as well. So I'm just going to introduce some of that bright yellow where I see it. Just again with more horizontal brush strokes. All right. So now I've got the yellows and the pinks mostly down. The only other color that we're missing for the sky and the ocean are the blues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and blend these colors together now. And Monet's brush strokes, you can see them. They're right on the surface. They're thick, they're deliberate, they're not really well blended in. So you want to keep it simple. You don't want to do over blending, so you just kind of want to bring the colors together by doing some diagonal brush strokes like this, and that's kind of going to give the piece a little bit more movement. It's okay if you get it on top of your boat. We're going to cover that with dark paint later anyways. So I'm just kind of blending the colors a little bit. I'm not over blending. I want there to be some solid areas of pink and solid areas of yellow, but I am kind of overlapping them a little bit so that there's some interest and they're not all the same. Alright, that's pretty good. I've gotten a lot of movement. Maybe I'll push out the pink a little bit more. I'm just kind of pushing the paint around a little bit at a time, seeing how it looks, not overdoing it too much. Okay, the sky looks pretty good. Maybe I'll introduce a little bit more pink over here. A little bit more pink up into that yellow area. There we go. There's some pink right here that I missed. So introduce some of that. A little bit right here as well. Okay. Now, wipe your brush off and go ahead and do the same thing for the ocean. The ocean, we're going to be blending some of those blues in there, some shadows and stuff, so just kind of blend it so there's not any white showing. There we go. Around the boat. Okay, there we go. So we've covered pretty much all of the ocean except for just under the horizon line because that's where the blue is. So now I'll clean my brush again. I'm going to take white and blue, a little, not much blue, a little more than we used of red and yellow, but I want to keep it really light and pastel. Just going to put that right on the horizon line. And on this side it's a little bit darker, lower, and then I'm just going to go back and forth with these really soft horizontal brush strokes. Smooth it out, blend it a little bit. Okay, and then there's blue in the ocean, and what you want to do is you want to create thin lines. So have a nice flat brush like this. Don't hold it this way because that'll create a thick line. Hold it like this, and just here and there add little tiny waves in the water. Now there's a lot of blue on the bottom, so I'm going to introduce more down here. And what helps with the lines is not having like a whole bunch of lines that stand alone or having them all too close together, but actually having like a line and then another one just diagonally, directly by it, but a little bit diagonal. That gives a nice balance in the painting. And then you see here, underneath the boat, there's a shadow. So if you want to introduce the blue, just kind of go back and forth like that. Just a little bit of back and forth motion to give it its shadow of the sails. And then there's also some blue up here in the pink sky. So I'm just going to copy exactly what I see. Do a brush stroke right there, one that way, over here, a couple of brush strokes there. There we go. And some on the edge over here. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm going to now use my pink brush. I'm going to add some of these lines in pink now. I'm just copying exactly what I see in the image, trying to keep the lines about the same length and thickness and in the same area. Now up here, I think I need some more pinks. There's some light pink areas that I did not add. So I'm going to get some white for my pink. And introduce, there's some right here along the sails, and over here, and right there, some of those light pink colors wisped in there. Okay, so that's pretty good. I think that I made my sail a little bit too wide. I want to make it a little bit thinner. So I'm just going to cover some of it with that paint. And then on this side as well. A little bit too round. Just trimming it up, making it more thin and delicate like Monet's sailboat. There we go. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to reintroduce a little bit of that dark pink into the sky. Right here, it seems to have a concentration of color. So that's maybe where the sun is setting and where the colors are the most extreme. I want to introduce that. So there's a bit more contrast. We don't want it to just all be very bright. A little bit up here too. And over here. Okay, some diagonal. Maybe I'll put some of these dark pink lines in the water. Just a couple, not too many. Do a little bit of blending. So I'm going to take a clean brush. And with the water, there's just some areas I want to smooth out and blend a little bit. So I'm just going to be really soft with it and just push the paint around so that it blends slightly more than it is on mine. All right. I'll work on this horizon line. Make sure I don't have any raw canvas still showing. And I think maybe I'll blend the sky a little tiny bit. Alright, I've just noticed that I've painted my boat a bit longer than Monet's boat. I could keep it this way, but I'm looking to reproduce Monet's painting, so I'm going to trim it up a little bit. I'm going to trim up my sail here, like that, and I'm going to make these smaller. So I'm going to get a clean brush or my yellow brush. Take some of this light yellow color and just make this a little bit shorter on this side and on this side. There we go. I'm going to cover my pencil line so that I don't have to do another layer later. There we go. That looks a little bit closer. Maybe I'll add some more yellow into the ocean while I'm at it. A little bit more down here. Maybe like a tiny bit of that bright yellow. Diagonals, nice and thick. Just to bring out that vibrant sunset. Here we are, and just go for the pink color a little bit here too. Darken that. Now you can have fun and push the paint around and play with it. And this is your own reproduction of a masterpiece, so you don't have to copy exactly what Monet's done. You can turn it into your own piece as well. Now we've completed our first layer of the painting. We're going to let this dry for about a week's time, and then we'll come back and we'll paint in the silhouette of the boat and do a little bit more of the darker colors in the ocean. It's been about a week. My painting is now dry, and I'm ready to paint the boat and the next layer of the background. So for the boat, we're going to need black, blue, purple, and red. It's mostly black with some subtler tones in it. So I'm going to mix those piles right now. There's some pure black. In the purple pile, I'm going to add a touch of white to the black and purple. And a little bit more. Lighten it up a little bit so it's kind of like a gray purple. And then the red part, same thing, just add some red to it. Get a little black in there. So nice dark red, black color. I'll take my paintbrush, take the black on my brush, and I'll start with the top sail. So it's just a very straight line down and then over. using the side of my brush so I can control the thickness of my stroke. Push it out like that. There we go. And the bottom sail kind of has a black outline and it's filled in with the purple. So I will draw the black outline. I will have this one come down. And then I'll come in with the purple. And there's some lighter purple in there, so I'll just mix my brush in the white a little bit. Get that light purple on the sail in there. There's maybe a touch of the purple in the top sail, so I'll just put a little bit there so that it's got some contrast. Now I'll come back with the black and outline this sail again. And then it's also black at the bottom. So in the picture it's got a bit more of an angle, so I'm going to bring this down over here and up this direction. There we go. So now I have the two sails. For the boat itself, that's black with a red tint at the bottom, so I can start with the red tint if I want. Just put it right here in the main part of the boat. If you're having difficulty staying within the lines, that means perhaps you need a smaller brush. Okay, and then on the right-hand side of the boat in the front is black. So I'm paying attention to the angles mostly. There we go. Now there's some thin lines there. We're going to switch to a tiny brush. I have these here. You see how thick this guy is? Pretty small. So I'll use this for the 3 lines that are in between the sail and the boat. The way that you create thin lines is by pulling the brush in the direction of the line. So if my line is up and down, then I'm holding my brush parallel to that. If my line is diagonal like this, I'm holding it like that. That way, all you're using is the thinnest part of the brush. So here, just go pull down. Try not to go over it many times, because every time you go over it, that's the chance of making it a thicker line. So if you can get it done in 1 or 2 brush strokes, then perfect. You're good. Keep it there. Alright, so this one here, I'm going to be pulling across. I definitely rest my hand on the canvas. Don't try to do these super detailed lines without resting your hand. If your canvas is wet, you can actually use another brush to help stabilize your hand by touching the brush to the canvas and then resting your hand on the brush so that you can steady your hand and still make a straight line. I'll go ahead and do it that way, even though my canvas is dry. So you see the line goes to about the end of the sail there. So you can see that the line goes to about the end of the sail. Maybe I'll make that a better corner there. There we go. And then another line over here. Now this one looks like it goes from the side of the sail down. Okay, then there's a couple of little lines here. Some lines at the top of the boat here. Let's see. Another one right here. And then they've got a little flag up here. So it's at the bottom of the flag is a little dark line, like that. And at the top of the flag are two dark lines. The flag itself is a light purple color, so we're going to take another brush, a small brush, and I'm going to mix even more white in with my purple, lighten it up. More than that. Okay. Now that I have the light purple, I can come here and just make a very small triangle. Looks like that flag has a stand, so take some more of this black. They're a little bit longer. There we go. So we've got our boat. My boat needs another layer of black just to solidify it, because some of these some of the canvas is still showing from behind the boat, so I want to take this and fill in all of those little pieces of canvas. Make it a really nice clean line. Okay. So that's looking good. I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom of the boat. There we go. So that's a nice solid looking boat. I'm going to bring down my sail a little bit. I'm going to go dip back into that purple. Maybe even lighten it up a little bit. Do some more of that light purple in here. I'm just kind of adding a couple of brush strokes to add interest. Add a little bit up here too. A little bit of light over here maybe. Okay. And then I'm going to come back with the black. I'm going to make this angle look closer to the original. Just changed it a little bit. There we go. Okay. Make this one a little bit longer. Goes all the way over there. Okay, that's pretty good. So we've got the boat. Now we want to do the shadow underneath the boat. So there's a little bit of black at the very top, right here. It's not touching the boat, it's underneath. It's just a little strip, just like that. Maybe a little bit wider. There we go. Now I'll come in, I'm going to get a new brush. I'm going to do some of these lighter colors here. So there's purple and red. So I'm going to mix a light purple Oh, it's actually it's a darker purple, so I'm going to use some of this purple that has black in it. And I'm just going to go back and forth a little bit. A little bit like that. Just a thin back and forth lines that get smaller as they come down. So the ones up here are wider. Like that. They actually come down pretty far. Okay. And then also there's some dark red in there. So I'll take my red. Maybe add a little bit of white to it, lighten it up slightly. Okay, and then I'll add some of that in there. Add to the shadows. Okay. Push these out. Now I've left some of the background colors there. There's not as much in here, so I'm gonna come back with that purple and just fill in a couple of those spots. Make this a little wider. Okay, and then down it kind of turns into a blue, so take a blue with a little bit of white in there, lighten it up. Some more back and forth. Now I can take some of these dark blue stripes and add them into the painting. So you see here, there are dark blue areas. Add more blue to it. So let's see, we've got one in the sky right here. So I'm making sure that it's thin and that the edges are the thinnest parts. So here's another blue. Some blues down here. Some blue here. Here we go. And then there's some more blues on the other side. I'm going to lighten it up. I think these blues are lighter than these ones. So adding more white and more blue. Okay, to right here. I'm going to lighten it up even more. Alright, now I've got a kind of soft purple, gray, blue color here. I'm going to add some back here. Just a little variation. If you find that your lines are too thick, you might have too much paint on your brush as well. So when you load your brush, just make sure that there's no paint on the sides. That's like down here. You want the paint just on the tip. So wipe off the paint on the sides and just load the tip of the brush. That'll help you get that smooth, thin line. there's some purple, some like kind of light purple, medium purple clouds going on, so let's do those. Just mix my medium purple color. Because I'm using my brush to mix the colors, it's fully loaded with paint, so it can't make as thin of a line. I might have to wipe some of this off and just pick up at the tip. So here there's a little bit of purple action. I'm just kind of not doing exactly straight lines, I'm doing kind of squiggles. A little bit of a roundness to them. Oh, I touched my wet boat there. So if you accidentally make a mistake, you can erase it with some turpentine. What you do is you take your turpentine, which is labeled toxic because it's very toxic and you wouldn't want anyone to accidentally drink that. And you just get your brush wet, wipe off the extra, and just rub it off. If it's wet, then it will come off. If it's dry, then you're stuck with it. Fortunately, oil paintings take days to dry, so you should be able to wipe off anything that you don't like today. There you go. Maybe I'll rub that up too. Maybe this line right here I think is too dark, so I'll just rub it with some turpentine. Make that one disappear. Maybe this one I made a little bit too light and dark, or a little too long, a little too dark, so I'll come back and take that one out. There we go. Okay, so I will come back with my purple clouds. Do another purple cloud right here. Maybe some on the edge. Now the horizon line kind of has like a dark purple to it at the very edge. So for part of the water, just give it that dark or that medium purple. There we go. So I just raised the horizon line a little bit there. Because I wanted to give it that darkness. Okay, there we go. And that gives it contrast between the top and the bottom. You can see where the skyline is. Okay, so I'm going to add more of this purple down here at the bottom. Some more little... Okay. And I'm going to use a lighter version. And do some lighter ones over here. Now, that line wasn't very thin. It's because I did not clean off my brush and just load the tips again. There we go. Do a couple over here. All right. Okay, so it's pretty close. I am going to mix some more of the light colors, the ones that we started with originally, and just add some nice thick brush strokes to the painting to give it more depth. So I'm going to need more white. Some clean white. And a clean brush. Okay, so first I'll start with the yellow. So I'll take mostly white with just a touch of yellow. To make these super light pastel colors, you only need a tiny, tiny bit of the color. There we go. So this beautiful light yellow color. And now I'm just going to kind of put some yellow here and there wherever I think it needs to be lightened up a little bit. So here I'm adding some light elements. Let's see, up here maybe I want to add some of the yellow up into the pink sky. Add some of the light yellow down here in this darker yellow area. Here as well. Yeah, so that's nice. That gives the sky more movement. Let's do some of that in the bottom. So I'm gonna mix more. Okay. And so I'm gonna put some of this light yellow color in on the ocean. Maybe right here I want a little bit more lightness. Make this pink line thinner. I can come here with the yellow right underneath it, and now that's a thin pink line. Can thin out these blue ones too as well. You can thin any of the lines that are already dry. I wouldn't try to thin the lines that are wet because they'll just blend and it'll make your color dark and muddy. I'm going to add a little bit of this light yellow down here. Kind of continue the lightness downwards. Okay. There we go. Maybe I'll put a little yellow streak here in this predominantly pink area. Okay, there we go. And then I'm gonna put one right up here. And it's kind of like I'm going in a bit of a diagonal in that top area. Okay, so I want to add, let's see, if you're trying to figure out what else you need to add, just look at the picture, look at your painting back and forth, and say, what's it missing? What's different? You can squint your eyes to see the contrast differences better. You can be like, okay, let's see. This area is pretty dark, okay, this area. I think I would like to add a little bit more of this red peachy color to this part of the horizon, and maybe a little bit down here. So I'll add a touch of red to my super light white color. There we go. So there we go. That's a little bit brighter than what's there already, so I can add that down here. I'll add some over here. Give it some brightness. And this here, I think mine's too neat and too orderly. Monet's is a lot scratchier and different. So it looks like he's got more blue in it, so I'm going to come around and make a light blue color. And I'm going to take that light blue color and just kind of muddy up these dark colors that I already did. I'm just gonna put that in there, kind of like that. That looks up better already. Don't need to play around with it too much. Up there a little bit. Okay, and then maybe bring it down. So take this light blue and bring it a little bit further down. And I want to give this sail a little bit more of a highlight. So I'm going to take this light blue color, and I'm just going to swipe it on the inside a little bit there. Maybe blend it in so it looks like it fits. There we go. Now there's a bit more contrast on the sail. Maybe I'll hit that flag with it. Maybe I'll give this sail a little bit of the highlight, even though there isn't one. I just wanted to. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to take another brush. And I'm going to do a bit more of this yellow work down here. So I'll take some of this white, some yellow. I'm going to use a little bit more yellow this time, with the tiniest little tiny touch of red to warm it up. Smallest amount, we don't want orange. Okay. It's a pretty good color. I'm just going to add just little tiny strips of yellow in here. Just give a little bit more variation in parts that don't have enough color contrast. Can thin up some of these lines in the distance. Make it brighter right there. Okay, that's looking good. Maybe add a little bit more yellow down here. All right. Okay. I think I want to go back and add a tiny bit of this dark blue. I missed maybe a streak or two, like right here. And maybe one up here, small ones. Really small ones in the distance. Maybe this guy is a little bit darker, it's got more going on. There we go. It looks like we could turn this shadow across the horizon line. Maybe add here. So now I'm just adding really small little nicks of this medium blue color. Kind of break up the water, make it look like there's more going on. And then I'm going to take the light color, the light purple blue, and go back over this section because I want to lighten this up. I did that too dark. Come here and lighten that. There we go. Maybe lighten this part too. Bits in there, and then maybe a little bit right here. There we are. We finished our Monet reproduction. I hope you enjoyed creating this masterpiece, and I look forward to teaching you how to create more beautiful paintings in the future.